much as a warning. Life hangs in the balance. Human endeavor turns to chaos. And within seconds, nothing will ever be the same. Ever. Brace yourself for incredible moments of destruction caught on tape. Chaos reigns when a fiery explosion at an outdoor festival sends partygoers fleeing for their lives. And an 8-story tall rocket filled with 200,000 pounds of kerosene disintegrates right there on the launch pad. It's the crossroads where fate and physics collide, and we call it destroyed in seconds. August 2009. Typhoon Morakot, over 1,000 miles wide, forms over the Pacific Ocean and slams into Taiwan. Torrential rains and 90-mile-an-hour winds batter the nearly 14,000 square mile island. 9 feet of rain falls in just 48 hours, triggering catastrophic flooding in hundreds of villages and towns. At a resort on the He-Bin River, the Jin Shui Hotel leans precariously over the torrent. The surging river has eroded the ground beneath the road, and structures are beginning to collapse. Panicked tourists rush to get off the unstable ground. The 6-story hotel literally tips over and crashes into the river. The massive impact sends water surging 60 feet into the air. Fortunately, all 300 guests and staff were safely evacuated. About 20 miles west in Jialan village, the Daimali River swells to 3 times its normal size. It's now a raging torrent, 500 feet across, decimating everything in its path. Terrified citizens attempt to rescue their belongings, but the river is encroaching fast. Residents of this apartment house can only watch as the current undermines the building's foundation. The crowd witnesses another structure swept downstream. Then, all residents were evacuated prior to the collapse. Typhoon Morakot is Taiwan's most destructive storm since 1959. Damages total $3.3 billion. It's a feast for the eyes above New Mexico. This is the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, where for 9 days, the sky is the backdrop for lighter-than-air works of art. Balloonists from 50 countries take flight, utilizing one basic law of physics, that warm air rises. Air heated by a propane flame fills the fire-resistant nylon balloon. The pilot controls vertical movement by activating a blast valve. Horizontal movement is controlled more by the wind, which sometimes has a mind of its own. During a contest where participants tried to grab an envelope off a pole, a suspected wind gust causes this balloon to clip the top of a temporary structure. 70-year-old passenger tumbles out and falls 25 feet to the ground. The pilot tries to get more lift by opening the blast valve, but it's too late. Minus the man's weight, the lighter airship quickly rises. At an altitude of about 300 feet, the pilot pulls a rip line. This releases the top cap and causes the balloon to quickly deflate. The aircraft plummets to the ground as stunned onlookers watch in disbelief. Friends and officials rush to check on the 56-year-old pilot. She escapes with a minor leg injury that requires treatment. The man who fell from the basket suffers a head and leg injury and undergoes surgery to repair a broken hip. The $9,000 balloon survives the ordeal intact. Every March during the Las Fallas Festival, temperatures in Valencia, Spain soar. It's La Crema, the last night of the festival. 3 million people watch as fallas, or statues of up to 9 stories high, are set on fire in honor of St. Joseph. Tonight, a large crowd gathers to watch a 30-foot tall falla titled Euro Kung Fusion burst into flames. None of them aware of just how intense that burst will be. A chain of firecrackers ignites the statue, but 4 seconds into the burn, it explodes. Some revelers recoil, and others flee as the statue blasts a scorching fireball, shooting wood and other shrapnel. To impress the crowds, volunteers pour too much gasoline on Euro Kung Fusion, causing the statue to explode. Firemen on standby immediately take aim with their hoses. Thankfully, fear is the only thing onlookers experience as no one is injured. During Las Fallas, 350 firemen are on hand to spray surrounding buildings with water to keep them from catching fire. Which prevents this spectacular accident from becoming a disaster. Modeled after champion race cars, Ferraris have always been revered for their speed and performance, both of which can be pushed to their limits during Ferrari Day in Monte Carlo. Amateur Ferrari drivers get to test their machine's speed, shifting, and handling on a tight turned course. Introduced to honor Ferrari's 50th anniversary in 1995, this mint condition $500,000 Ferrari F50 is one of only 349 originally made. The car is specifically designed to handle serpentine courses with ease, but it was never intended to go off-road. On a track slick from light rain, the driver hydroplanes as he approaches a left turn. He jerks the steering wheel while applying more gas. With no front traction, the car plows into a female course official, then plummets down a set of stairs into a restaurant. Onlookers rush to the scene, and a minute later, an ambulance arrives. Officials employ a crane to remove the $500,000 car. The F-50 requires over $250,000 in repairs. The only damage to the restaurant is a broken window. Luckily, neither the driver nor the track official is hurt. But there's one less pristine factory F50 in existence. When most people sit down for a tattoo, the scariest thing they face is the needle. But at Peacock's tattoo shop in Jacksonville, Florida, there are far more frightening things to be concerned about. A minivan slams through the wall at 30 miles per hour, hitting the couch occupied by both men. Patrons scatter as the vehicle plows into the store. Sean suffers a compression fracture to his spine. His friend walks away with bruises. 10 months later, Sean is still not fully recovered, but the storefront has been repaired. But while Sean is on his break outside the shop, Sean watches a van park in front of him. The engine revs. Sean leaps out of the way and misses being hit by 6 inches. The driver backs up and inspects the damage. In both crashes, drivers arriving to pick up pizza from the shop next door hit the gas instead of the brake when trying to park. Each driver is cited for reckless driving. Damages from both collisions exceed $45,000. As a result, the owner has protective barriers installed out front. On the first day they're installed, they're hit by a driver.
Any injuries or?
When even the fire chief is startled,
Not at this time. That was a bit warm.
you can be sure the situation is critical. It's early evening in Fort St. John, British Columbia. Smoke pours from the roof of a trucking warehouse. The burning building has been cleared of personnel. But still inside are 140 drums of highly volatile methanol and acid-based chemicals. Despite firefighters' efforts at keeping the drums cool, searing temperatures over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit caused them to explode. The blasts continue into the night, as more of the 55-gallon drums are heated to the point of rupture. Fireballs shoot hundreds of feet into the air and produce toxic mushroom clouds of methanol and acid-tainted smoke. Officials evacuate 80 neighborhood homes as a safety precaution. An onlooker catches multiple eruptions with his cell phone.
I caught all that one. Oh, and that one.
The blast leaves only the building's frame. Nine hours after it began, the fire is finally extinguished. The radiant heat melts siding on nearby evacuated homes. The warehouse is completely destroyed, with damages estimated at $1 million. Thankfully, no one is injured. As for what triggered the blaze, the local fire chief reports that an overloaded multi-outlet extension cord burst into flames. It's the 13th annual Pogues Hole Pro Hill Climb in Dansville, New York.
Hill climb! Hell
yeah!
The rider with the best time out of the two runs wins. The biggest challenge is just keeping the bikes from flipping over on the 75-degree slope. But in case they do, members of the safety crew are at the ready. However, at today's event, it's the safety crew that needs protecting. At the start, Luna's chain-covered rear tire digs into the rut. But 390 feet up the incline, he hits a dip in the ground. Luna guns the throttle, activating a nitrous oxide fuel boost. The sudden burst of thrust launches Luna's motorcycle into the air, throwing him off. The roughly 300-pound bike knocks over an umbrella and strikes a safety crew member in the head. The impact sends the man tumbling down the hill. The injured crewman gets up, then falls to the ground. Other safety crew members assist him down the hill. An ambulance transports him to the hospital with a cut to the forehead and a severe concussion. He fully recovers. Luna manages to walk away uninjured. His bike suffers only a bent handlebar. Despite this accident, Luna still takes second place. September 24th, 1959. The U.S. wants to land a man on the moon within 10 years. And the space race with the Soviets is on. This Atlas Able rocket is scheduled to launch a space probe that will take photographs of the moon. But prior to liftoff, the rocket's engines must be tested. Seconds after the engines ignite, flames erupt near the bottom of the rocket. Technicians immediately shut down the engines, but the blaze continues to build. Vents are open to release hot vapors, but it's too late. Fueled by 200,000 pounds of kerosene, a fire quickly consumes the stainless steel rocket. The heat activates automatic fire hoses, but they have little effect on the towering flames. In less than a minute, the 82-foot-tall Atlas collapses. An investigation reveals that a malfunctioning fuel pump failed to stop the flow of liquid oxygen into the combustion chamber. When the oxygen mixed with the kerosene, it intensified the fire. No one is injured, but the launch pad is destroyed. Although the Atlas Able program is abandoned, more advanced rockets eventually help land 2 Americans on the moon. Well, there it is, another 30 minutes of non-stop destruction. I'm Ron Pitts. We'll see you next time on Destroyed in Seconds.